It is the middle of the night in a quiet hospital ward. As rain hits the glass, an elderly dementia patient sits in the dim light, staring straight ahead. They are entirely disconnected from the room around them. This 3D model shows the brutal physiological reality of advanced dementia. The disease physically destroys brain tissue. Over years, dense networks of neural pathways break apart, wither, and eventually fade to black. For the family standing beside the bed, it is an agonizing vigil. They are watching someone they love breathe, knowing the person they actually knew slipped away years ago. Modern neurology operates on a strict rule. Thought requires structure. Once the biological hardware of the brain is destroyed by disease, the person's identity cannot return. The damage is irreversible. Then, without warning, the heavy fog evaporates. The patient's eye snaps into focus. They look up, fully aware of their surroundings. They turn to their daughter and clearly speak her name. They ask about specific family members, recount distinct memories from 40 years ago, and offer coherent apologies for past arguments. Medical researchers call this highly specific event terminal lucidity. In the room, relatives begin to cry in total disbelief. But on a purely clinical level, what is happening right now is completely impossible. We are left with a glaring paradox. If the physical hardware of the brain is permanently destroyed, how is the complex software of human memory suddenly running flawlessly? To find an answer, we have to look past the conversation at the bedside and track the data coming from the monitors. As vital organs begin to fail, the patient's physiological rhythm turns chaotic. This diagram illustrates the brain's final moments. As the body shuts down, it triggers a massive electrical storm. Like a dying light bulb before the filament snaps, a sudden surge creates a brilliant flash. This forces intense electricity into dead regions. We can track this energy easily on a screen, but random static does not write a symphony. Chaotic electrical spikes cannot explain the sudden, perfect organization of a complex childhood memory. The leading clinical attempt to explain this gap points to a massive release of neurotransmitters, acting as a sort of emergency system reboot. This animation demonstrates that theory. As the body enters its final phase, it releases an extreme flood of adrenaline and endorphins, providing the failing system with a temporary, overwhelming burst of mental power. Yet this theory hits a fatal logical wall. A sudden surge of energy provides power, but power is not the same thing as structured information. Adrenaline can force a surviving neuron to spark, but it cannot physically reconstruct a coherent, 4-decade-old apology out of brain tissue that has quite literally wasted away. Terminal lucidity defies the foundational hardware and software model of modern neurology. The evidence forces us to consider that our entire understanding of where memories are actually stored is incorrect. As quickly as the lucid window opens, it shuts. The patient finishes speaking, their breathing slows, and the room goes quiet as they pass away. For the relatives holding hands around the bed, the grief of the physical loss is intense, but it is met with the overwhelming relief of receiving a genuine, impossible goodbye. The scientific community remains entirely baffled by the mechanics of the event, yet the experiential reality permanently softens the grieving process for those left behind. We carry a terrifying societal assumption that severe dementia deletes a person's identity long before their heart stops beating. This brief, impossible window of clarity suggests something entirely different. It points to human consciousness being vastly more resilient than simple biological matter. Even within the most broken minds, the core self remains entirely intact in the shadows, capable of stepping forward for one final, brilliant moment before the lights go out.